Full Melt Show is intended for a mature audience. It contains adult themes, adult content, and sometimes adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
In many states, marijuana is now considered medicine. But it doesn't arrive at the dispensary in standardized formulations and doses, and its effects on an individual can be difficult to predict. For starters, there's the way you consume the drug. When smoked, cannabis takes effect within minutes. When eaten, it can take over an hour for the effects to set in, and they may last much longer. Now, marijuana businesses and users commonly distinguish between two types of cannabis plants and hybrids of the two, cannabis sativa and cannabis indica. Physically, the plants are quite different. Cannabis sativa has thin, lanky stems and narrow leaves. Cannabis indica is a stocky, smaller plant with stubby leaves. And many users report that the plants deliver distinct highs as well. Sativa strains are said to produce a high that is energetic, euphoric, and cerebral. Indica delivers what some users describe as a body buzz, which may help medical patients manage pain. Scientists are not quite sure of what to make of this distinction and the anecdotal evidence that supports it. After all, research into cannabis is still in its infancy, in part because federal restrictions have held it back for decades. Experts say that THC, the psychoactive compound in marijuana, induces the high, but THC alone couldn't explain the difference between a stimulating and a sedative high. One hypothesis is that the varying effects result from the interaction of THC with other chemical compounds in the plant. This is known as the entourage effect. Of course, each user's genetic profile also influences her reaction to cannabis and THC. In that way, marijuana is no different than two other substances Americans use every day: caffeine and alcohol.
Are you high? What are you talking about?
This is the Full Melt.
Give me a break.
The Full Melt Show. A marijuana discussion about news, culture, politics, and lifestyle. FullMelt.com. Toll free. 844-420-TALK. 844-420-TALK.
Live from suburban Detroit, it is the Full Melt Show for Tuesday. Today's August 18th, 2015. While some people are trying to figure out the difference between indica and sativa, others are trying to figure out a way to do legalized marijuana in Michigan. And there's a lot of competition in that space, let me tell you. Earlier today, some committee hearings were heard on Capitol Hill here in Michigan, in downtown Lansing. And it's a mixed bag of tricks. I don't have all the reports in, but I have garnered the favor of my friend Steve Green, the other Steve Green. He's like a maxi me. No, wait a minute. He's not a mini me. He's like a duplicate me, but he's not me. I don't know. I don't know which one I'm doing a disfavor by saying that. But Steve's going to come on the program because he attended those committee hearings today. And I'd like to make heads or tails of them because what's been going on here in Michigan is a hijacking. I mean, it's been an outright hijacking by people paying off politicians. Straight up. You know what? If I'd be really interested to find out who did tit-for-tat negotiations in the darkness of night. Because I believe people were literally paid off. I mean, that's how I feel about it. At least there's the giant appearance of impropriety involved. Government, what I believe is corruption at its finest. No, you can't do that. We're arresting you for it. No, push back. Marijuana bad. Medical marijuana bad. Legal marijuana bad. No, there is no such thing. You got all just a bunch of high-ons. Yeah, there's a bunch of sick people too, and maybe we'll let them have something, but the rest of you are all going to put you in jail. The really sick people are in hospice. They're going to die pretty soon. You're not really sick unless you're in hospice, unless they've told you you have terminal cancer. You know, this is just not the way things are. And then, on top of it, when we find out that you're going to change the tables on us. You're going to turn the tables, and you're going to legalize marijuana with a ballot petition. You know what, you bastards? We're going to do you one better. We're going to take these people's money. We're going to gut your bills that you've been pushing for and raising money for so much time. Years, in fact. Sessions, in fact. That's plural. And then, on top of that, we're going to, perhaps belly up to the bar with these people with the MCC who might be in cahoots with the other people, in my opinion. Or at least, again, it appears that way, even if it may not be. The people at MCC, the Michigan Cannabis Coalition, want to legalize marijuana as well, but leave all the rules up to the legislature. You see, there's an incentive there, isn't there? Because in a ballot petition in Michigan, and in many places, Ohio, it's like this too, I believe, the legislature can pick up the ballot petition and enact it into law without it going to vote. They can do it themselves. If they don't take action on it or deny it, then it goes on the ballot. See, they don't have there's no veto power by the legislature on this. They can either fast track it for law or go, you know what? You guys vote on it. We're not taking the heat on it. And in this case, knowing that the MI legalized ballot petition has a very, very good chance of getting on the fall ballot in 2016. I guess we'll know sometime by December. Sometime before Christmas, we'll know. And it's been doing very, very well. I mean, they've been getting money on board. We need to get more money on board. There's no question we need to get more money on board. We're out there collecting signatures all the time for this ballot petition, this drive. And we're hoping to get that done. But in the meanwhile, while this is possibly, under the view of the legislature, coming to fruition, they're going to try and nip it in the bud by saying, no, you know what? These other guys got their ballot petition signed, didn't have to wait for the election. We're going to go ahead and just pass it into law. We're going to make all the rules ourselves. We're going to favor our buddies. All you guys who gave us bigger campaign contributions than those people over at MI Legalize, or the people before them, or the same groups of people that support MI Legalize all this time, holding fundraisers for politicians, and then them stabbing people in the back like this as soon as somebody waves a bigger dollar in their face. I mean, this isn't about principle, is it? This is about politics. This isn't about fairness on prisons and probation. Getting rid of the awful, parasite of marijuana on the criminal justice system. What a horrible thing. A horrible waste of resources. But the devil's in the details. Does the legislature take control of this action and take the wind out of the sails out of the MI Legalize campaign? I would venture to say not. I would venture to say the same people that reared up their heads and got something done about this, finally, and got some headway on it, attracted some money, got a big enough coalition together to get signatures, and likely get this on the ballot, I would say that those people are not going to let go of that issue. And they'll be damned if they see the legislature take this issue over to themselves after saying no for so long. Not until they got some money about it. Not until they had a chance to pay off their friends in a big way. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why people in this country are disillusioned with their politicians. Why Congress has probably the poorest rating by citizens of this country in its existence. And so we're going to take a peek inside of that corruption today. And when we come back after the break, talk to Steve Green about what's going on with that. We'll talk about the upcoming Cannabis Cup a little bit today. The question begged at the beginning of the program, this bit from the New York Times about cannabis sativa, cannabis indica. The High Times Cannabis Cup is a great way to highlight the differences between those two substances because they have a specialty on handing out awards in those categories, right? Surely the growers and the people who produce these prize-winning, and I would say, what's the expression I want to use? Bragging rights awards have a way to explain to you the tremendous differences between the two. I think the video said it best, that cannabis sativa provides a heady high. It's euphoric. And then the indica is more of a body buzz. It is generally better for pain and sleep. But I think there are people who could put that into better ways than I or the video did. And perhaps in the future, I've been in contact with somebody from the New York Times who put that video together. There's a reporter working on some stories. Hopefully we can get them on and entertain you and them together with questions and answers about indica and sativa. But again, Cannabis Cup is a great place to highlight the difference between those two. Go check them out. They're going to be in Clio this weekend in Michigan, the Medical Cannabis Cup at the Speedway there in Clio. You can find out details at cannabiscup.com or also at medcancup.com. Then also today, wanted to highlight a couple of other news stories. It seems that there are some more banking issues, more states running into banking issues. We'll talk about that briefly. The mayor of Detroit today made an announcement at the half-hour mark. When we come back after the half-hour break, I'll play you the press conference with the mayor of Detroit making an announcement, not on marijuana, but rather on those body cams. Detroit might be taking a leadership role in technology on recording police activity and interactions with citizens. We'll talk about that in just a bit. Fledgling marijuana industry pressing through labor pains. That's right. If you're having labor pains, the cure may not be marijuana. We'll talk about that. And then also, that's from NBC. And then a Canadian university is offering classes on marijuana. Can you imagine that? A business class on pot. How many people are going to be joining up for that? Tuition just went up sky high. It seems to me that there's going to be a lot of students attending university in Canada who are going to book that class until the day ends. I'm just saying. How can you be in college and not want to take a business class on pot? What do you got today? Oh, I got pot business 101, introduction to pot. Oh, I cracks myself up. Yeah, that's going on. And then also, what was the other thing? Oh, Ohio back in the news again. More stuff about responsible Ohio and Ohioans against marijuana monopolies. They're back in the news. I'm telling you, that Ohio thing's not going away. It is going to be at the top of the list of news because they're going to be making a decision before anything happens in the coming 2016 presidential election cycle. Back after the break with Steve Green from Hybrid Life.
You're getting the full melt.
Hey, it's Steve Green for the Sweet Leaf in Flint, because now getting safe access to medical cannabis patients in Flint, Michigan is never more welcoming. Presenting the Sweet Leaf, a brand new patient experience bringing 12 carefully selected caregivers housed in 9 separate offices to distinctly assist you with their knowledge and reputation for excellent patient care. Classes and training coming soon in the large community room. Check it out in person, 400 South Door Highway, or call 810-259-2571. The Sweet Leaf Center in Flint, 810-259-2571.
Got something to hide? Canalock offers discreet and effective storage solutions that destroy odor, so nobody knows. Canalock is a patented charcoal-activated bag that discreetly stores your marijuana. Canalock is made from the same material as military chemical warfare suits. Get yours at canalock.com. Visit canalock.com to learn more about no-smell technology.
Get growing with GrowMax. Indoor, outdoor, beginner, or a warehouse full of Gavitas, probiotic organics, or huge production with Max Power monster aeroponics systems. We can help you rock it. You too. 2111. We also specialize in electrical and HVAC and new double-ended bulb technology. 906-221-2111. Get growing. GrowMax.
Introducing Sacred Elements, a place for natural and alternative healing for the mind, body, and soul. Sacred Elements. It's one place, all solutions.
Registered, licensed, certified, ordained.
Sacred Elements.
Massage, hypnosis, Reiki.
Sacred Elements.
Raindrop, aroma and color therapy, body detox, ministry, life coaching, weight and nutrition counseling.
Sacred Elements. Next to the Sweet Leaf, 400 South Door Highway, Flint.
11 to 7 daily, closed Sunday.
Call 810-259-2570.
Young students are our future. They're eager to learn, eager to succeed, eager to make the world a better place. And they want to make it to school safely. Share the road, take care when passing, and always leave 3 feet between you and people on bikes. Bikes are legal road vehicles. We're all drivers.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show. Shenanigans? I'm calling shenanigans. I think that's what's going on in Capitol Hill, Lansing. Shenanigans, I say. Here to clear up that issue, whether or not there are any shenanigans going on in his opinion, is Steve Green from Hybrid.life and other fame. Did I say that right?
You did.
Steve, welcome to the Full Melt Show. I got to ask you, you're down there in Lansing today. What were they testifying on, Steve?
Talking about the bills that we've been waiting on for, seems like forever, the infused products and dispensary bills.
They don't really resemble their redheaded bastard stepchild, former selves, do they?
Not at all.
Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. So they're reconsidering the new versions of both of these bills. The bill that had the most changes to it, I would say, is 4209. Is that the one?
Yeah.
And 4210 resembles its former self. Yes or no? Do you think?
There's a lot of changes to both of them.
Oh, good Lord. So, what was the? I got to ask you too before we get into the meat of this, because we got a full 15 minutes to talk about this almost. Who is MJ Freeway? Tell people about MJ Freeway.
MJ Freeway is a company that surprisingly the last 6 months or so has been growing quite steadily around the dispensaries in the state, and it offers both a POS, point of service or point of sale system, where they can keep track and inventory, also prints out fancy little stickers, and with that they also offer the software that goes from what they say is seed to sale tracking.
Aha. And, there's the magic words right there, seed to sale tracking. Somebody got sold on something somewhere, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
So they're the ones that have the preeminent tracking software in Colorado. Apparently, Colorado, they are the supplier for that method and system, the primary supplier of that for the state.
I believe so. They mentioned that was their heavy area was Colorado.
Heavy area. They're meat and potatoes.
Yep.
So they came to Michigan and saw an opportunity in the pause, the delay between the last session and this session on the reintroduction of these now newly formed bills, because they seem to have been gutted and replaced with other language from other players that must be lobbying currently.
Well, the only thing that really looks much different than the bills themselves are the attendees. A year ago, when you would go, you would see tie-dyed shirts, you would see people in blue jeans, you'd see work boots. Now today, you saw suits after suits after suits.
Really? It looked like a Sunday church in there, sitting in the pews.
Yeah, it seemed like a lot of politicians.
Well, what was your overall feel of the testimony that went on today? I mean, did you get a grasp? But what was when you walked away from this, how did you feel about it?
Well, I think I made one tweet or whatever throughout it that said, looking for waiters because it's getting deep. I heard that marijuana went for $6,000 a pound.
What?
And so I started to reconsider my career options at that point. But basically, I mean, I've sat through quite a few timeshares and sales pitches, and that's exactly what this was. This was a meeting where we brought a lot of politicians and people together for a company to give them a sales pitch.
So this is like a legislative version of Shark Tank.
Yeah, they wanted to see if they liked it.
Wow. Pass around some samples?
No, they didn't get that deep.
Well, they surely they brought a barcode, some kind of barcode reader. I mean, what kind of technology? Was it just they're going on their success in Colorado? Hey, believe us, we managed to work out Colorado.
No, you got to talk faster and with bigger words like the algorithms and things like that.
Oh, good Lord.
Because it just flowed so perfectly. But I think they dragged out their sales pitch a little too long. People have an attention span. They got so far into the sales pitch and trying to sell it so hard that most of the people up there, except Clint Gusto, were all pretty much looking away and distracted. And as they asked questions, Representative Irwin asked a pretty straightforward, simple question: what's this going to cost at the end? Because she made a comment, marijuana costs $14 a gram. And he said, well, what's this going to, all this tracking and everything, what's that going to add to the final cost? And I think that was like about a 7-minute answer of circles before she said, no, there's not going to be any additional cost.
So what, are the dispensaries got to absorb this? I'm sure the state's not paying for it. I'm sure it's not coming out of licensing fees. I'm sure it's something that they're going to force you to subscribe to.
I would say so.
They're part of the All Barcodes Matter movement.
Well, it's an interesting thing because they, like I said, they had that software with the nice little label printer. So it comes with, I believe, the base model is like a scale, the computer software, and a printer. And so you're supposed to measure everything through the scale, and then that keeps an inventory. And then it prints it out, and I've seen quite a few people in the patients in the Detroit area complaining about the pill bottles or the plastic bottles that they're getting their medicine in because it has their name and patient number on it. And they just don't think that's the best way to do it.
Well, wait a minute. I mean, doesn't it have your name and patient number on there when you go get your prescription at the pharmacy?
It does.
So what would be the difference, I suppose?
I don't know. I mean, I guess there could be a lot of precautions there.
A little paranoia.
Maybe.
Well, it's partly paranoia and part reality, I suspect.
I would say that I've heard patients talk about I lost my prescription or my prescription was stolen, and I filed a police report to get a new prescription. Sometimes that story gets old, sometimes it's real.
I think it's probably a 50-50 split there, isn't it? I mean, there are desperate people looking for opiates and other dependent drugs who are willing to both file false police reports to try and get a duplicate prescription, and then also the other way around, people willing to rip people off that are getting these prescriptions.
Absolutely, but I don't think you're going to see anybody calling and saying my marijuana bottle is missing with my name on it.
Well, why not? If you're a medical marijuana, I certainly would. In fact, I've done it. If somebody broke into my home and stole my medical marijuana, I called the police and filed a report. Serious. He laughs at me.
Kudos to you, man.
Well, what was I going to do? It was a home invasion. What am I going to say? No, that's okay. You can just break in anytime you want. I'm not going to call the cops. I mean, really.
I would hope not, but you never know when people are scared.
People are afraid to stand up and defend themselves when they feel like there is no defense. And in this state, really, there almost hasn't been, has there, Steve?
No, there's, when you did that, you stood alone, brother. And and luckily everything worked out. But
look, it wasn't just once. There was another guy that did the same thing shortly afterwards. In fact, I was away from the building at the time I was testifying at the first person's sentencing hearing over that theft when another person was breaking in. You taking that opportunity to do the same thing. And I'm like, seriously. So, because the alarm thing went off, and I got back, and I saw the door was peeled open like a tin can. I'm like, are you serious? And so I did the same thing. I called and filed a police report. You know what? Both of them ended up doing time. Both of them ended up being admitted to the Department of Corrections because I don't care about your pot use. I care about your home invasion and theft.
Absolutely.
But, I suppose there would have been an easier way to go around getting some weed. But anyway.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you mentioned the prescription drugs and the problem there because this was, I believe they said the system that they were going to do and implementing this was going to be $9 million.
Whoa.
So a couple of people questioned, why don't we use the MAPS system, which is already a system the taxpayers are paying for that monitors Schedule 2 to Schedule 5 drugs from everyone from veterinarians to
I see what you're saying. It's the thing. It's the computer system that tracks pharmaceutical sales.
Correct.
And so you can't go doctor shopping. They can figure out if you're bouncing around trying to get the same script from a bunch of different doctors.
Right.
And this would I imagine pin down the same kind of activity, wouldn't it?
Yep.
I think it's a great idea, Steve. Who proposed that? I want to give them the Genius Award.
Well, yeah, I think it was a collective thought, but personally, I don't think there needs to be anything like that. But if it's going to be done and if it's going to be jammed down my throat, I would just assume it already be on a bill that we're paying, and
right.
assume another $9 million.
Well, right, exactly. Why? That's a large. Look. Would you buy that if it? How much is $9? I want to do the math and figure out how much $9 million is a percentage of our yearly budget. And then do that math and compare it to your own yearly budget as a percentage and decide whether or not that's a product you would purchase, given those questions. If there's a free version already we're doing over here that we already subscribe to, and then there's this version, it's going to cost you this portion of your yearly income. It seems like a no-brainer.
Absolutely.
Why is it that the stoners are all coming up with the good ideas and the legislature can't get their act together? They're running around with like a chicken with their head cut off.
Well, I'm not of the belief that they don't know what they're doing. I happen to think they're a little more calculated than that.
Well, I suppose at least from the outside it appears that way. I mean, it isn't perception reality. Isn't what people perceive what they walk away with? I mean, that is what their reality is, what you perceive.
Right.
And the perception, I think, is that Capitol Hill can't get their act together on this for 7 years.
No agreeing.
Do we still have this, in your opinion, a problem in the medical marijuana community or in the cannabis pro-cannabis community? We're splintering and arguing, and we come together as a bigger coalition if we overcome that.
Yeah, I think it's still split, and I think even with the legalization push for 2016, splitting people in more directions. People have, strong beliefs in certain things, and one of them seems to be marijuana taxation. And so you really can, almost upset somebody just talking about that kind of thing.
Well, I mean, if you look at it broadly, you can't take the biggest cookie away from government as a lure to get them to agree to this stuff, can you?
Well, no, the point is anybody that doesn't use or care or research marijuana wants to know, that's fine, legalize it, but what's in it for me?
Right. I mean, that's the big question, isn't it? We need roads repaired. We need other economic development, like schools.
Or a big thing would be, what if we did gave back $500 each family?
Oh, yeah. Kind of like reverse Colorado. If Colorado makes too much taxes, they got to give some back. In this case, if they make any tax, they got to give it all back. Now, that's a creative solution to hey, we're taxing marijuana, but we're giving it back to you.
Right.
Look, I say that's like a great Bush play. Isn't that what Bush did? He took the huge surplus that Clinton left behind, and he said, you know what? That's not the government's money. That's your money. I tell you what, we'll give everybody a check back. We'll give you guys an average of $600 back. We'll give the fat cats as much as they want.
Right. Yeah, that's the last time I remember getting a check like that.
Well, and now it seems like most of your child tax credits have gone away. That's horrible news for people with a lot of kids like you and Maria, right?
Oh, yeah.
Those tax credits add up to a big deal. I see a lot of people when they get their tax check back and they've got a big family of kids, boy, they go on a vacation, they buy a car, they do some stuff.
Well, everything's a pinch, and that's what's bothersome about today as well, is a lot of edible companies, a lot of dispensaries, a lot of delivery services, and all of these other support systems and support businesses around the marijuana industry
right.
are often family businesses, husband, wife, that kind of thing.
It's the small business that makes up the American economy, isn't it, Steve?
Well, yeah, and they're the ones that are going to be eliminated in this plan.
Exactly. It's my fear too that the cottage industry is going to go away. Big business is going to take over. It's like fighting water rolling down a hill. Listen, Steve.
Yeah, and it'll leave people that want the best of the best to still be going to the black market. People that want a better, fair deal going to the black market.
Or the people that feel strongly about not paying taxes. Look, I'm not going to the store not because I don't like the weed there. It's because I'm not going there to pay the taxes.
Right.
Listen, we've only got a couple minutes left in this break. I wanted to give you an opportunity real quick to talk about hybrid.life.
Well, thank you.
Can you tell us what's in the upcoming issue here? Well, you got a new issue coming out soon, don't you?
Yeah. We have this week. We're distributing the August-September issue. We're now doing bi-monthly, and coincidentally, we have Rep. Irwin on the cover, and he was active today in like I said, the questioning and of what happened today. And he talks about, Michigan water and stuff like that, and we think about, the droughts out west and what a great resource and how great our particular state is for, all growing and farming. And so we talk a little bit about hemp and, what we're looking forward to in the next year and really just preparing for the Cannabis Cup here coming up.
Yeah.
And
you guys got a booth out there distributing magazines?
Oh, yeah. We'll be in full effect with the Cannabis Cup. And
well, we hope to see you there, Steve. Hybrid.life is where you can go and catch the magazine, or you can pick up the magazine at your local dispensary?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Steve Green, Slime Ball Politics. I tell you, Slime Ball Politics, I'm not happy about it.
You'll get over it.
I don't know that I will. I think it's going to be more fuel for the fire to collect signatures and get legalization done in 2016 via MI Legalize.
Well, I hope so.
All right, Steve Green again from Hybrid.life. Thanks for coming on and giving us your assessment of what was going on in Capitol Hill today, even though it leaves a bad taste in probably both of our mouths.
Thank you much.
We'll talk to you soon. Catch Steve out at the Cannabis Cup. He'll have a booth out there, I think, in the nonprofit organization area. I'm not sure. Catch him out there either way. Coming back after the break with the Mike Dugan debate.
You're getting the full melt.
If you're like us, your pets aren't just animals. They're members of your family. Pet Pain CBD hemp oil drops are great for aging as well as active dogs and cats. Some people are apprehensive about hemp treatments for pets. They ask us, what are you smoking? Absolutely nothing, and neither will your pet. Like other hemp-based products for humans, the allure is all of the benefits of cannabis without any of the high. The CBD oil has shown to rejuvenate the bones, joints, brain, stomach, eyes, and heart. And the drops contain absolutely no corn, wheat, soy, artificial colors and flavors, or preservatives. Pick some up today. Visit petpain.com or ask for Pet Pain at your local pet store. Petpain.com. CBD relief for your pet.
Get growing with GrowMax. Indoor, outdoor, beginner, or a warehouse full of Gavitas. Probiotic organics, or huge production with max power monster aeroponics systems. We can help you rock it. YouTube GrowMax with 2 X's. Customer service is why we're blowing up. And I'm Dave. My cell number is 906-221-2111. We also specialize in electrical and HVAC and new double-ended bulb technology. 906-221-2111. Get growing. GrowMax.
You know, it's not easy out there, but it can be easier. And when it comes to medical marijuana in Michigan and chronic pain management, Dr. Bob Townsend, renowned for his patient advocacy and deep understanding of how patients and medical marijuana certifications fit together, makes it his hallmark to educate and provide the best holistic treatment for your condition. His knowledgeable staff makes you feel warm and welcome, and Dr. Bob makes you feel well. With locations across the state in Cadillac and Gaylord, Kalamazoo, Marquette, Mount Pleasant, Muskegon, Saginaw, Traverse City, you can't beat the convenience and feeling you get knowing you have someone on your side that cares. Denali Healthcare is on the web at denalihealthcaremi.com. Get answers to your holistic health questions or schedule an appointment now by calling 989-339-4464. Chronic pain management and holistic health answers is what they do. It's all they do. DenaliHealthcareMI.com. Get your certification and peace of mind now by making an appointment with Dr. Bob Townsend at 989-339-4464. So you can hear the Full Melt Show right here on thefullmelt.com Monday through Friday from 7 until 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Really easy to find us on Facebook also, because there's a link on the page. Also, if you want to subscribe to the program, very simple to subscribe via iTunes. Right there at the top of the page, the iTunes link exists. Click it and subscribe. It's that simple. Really simple. Get a copy of the show every day. There was a press conference today held by Detroit Mayor Mike Dugan. Dugan. You say tomato, I say tomato. So, let me see if I can find this now. Here it is right here. I'm going to pull this up and play it for you because this is kind of the it's slightly edited, just mostly for space and time, not for content. Except for the beginning and the very end of the press conference, the parts that really didn't matter that much. There were some reporter questions that I won't put you through. But the meat of the press conference is this has to do with them taking on a new role with regards to body cameras, police and body cams, and integrating them with police car cams. So the cameras, the dash cams. So here we go. I'm going to play this press conference for you as it relates to the city of Detroit and their new technology. Here's Mayor Mike Dugan.
We were here last spring and promised to do a 90-day trial of the body camera technology to make a decision as to whether to move forward with a full body camera rollout for the Detroit Police Department. I want to thank the officers who participated in that trial. We got a great deal of feedback from them, and from Assistant Chief White, who has led this process from the beginning. And we promised you that we would come back when the trial is over, and the officers have concluded that the technology works, it is ready to go, and the city of Detroit is establishing as its goal to build a police department where every officer-citizen interaction is recorded. We believe that's the best way to hold people accountable who do something wrong, and the best way to quickly exonerate people who are falsely accused. And we are going to move forward to build that deployment as we start today. We've passed out with the press release a spreadsheet to give you a sense of the deployment. Those of you who've been around me know I'm kind of obsessed with metrics, but here's what we know. There's two separate pieces to this. One is the cameras in the car, the dash cams, and the other is the cameras on the officers, the body cams. We have 409 marked cars operational in the Detroit Police Department today between the traditional patrol cars and the 30 series. Only about half of them have fully functioning dash cams right now. We've had a couple of cases with high-speed chases with cars that didn't have a dash cam, which is something we all would have liked to have seen. We more recently had an incident where somebody accused the officers of misbehavior on a traffic stop on Jefferson, and the dash cam dispelled the issue very quickly when it turned out the claims were not true. But even in that case, we had some audio problems, but fortunately the camera recording was good enough that it was obvious our officer had behaved entirely professionally. And so what we are going to do over the next 12 months at the rate of 5 cars a week is we are going to put the dash cams in those without it, replace the older dash cams with a modern one, so that a year from now, all 409 marked vehicles will have operating dash cams. We will be able to know what happens in all of these traffic interactions. The second piece then becomes the body cameras. And you're going to hear a lot from the officers who really educated us as far as the importance of battery life, not wanting to leave in the middle of the shift to change batteries, on comfort and ease of use, and also, interestingly, integration with the dash cams. That is, we don't really need two different systems, one with the body cameras and one with the dashboard cameras. And so we, I believe, are going to be the first in the country, but certainly a leader, in attempting to roll out an integrated camera system that takes the dashboard cameras and recordings and integrates it with the body cameras and recordings. And so this fall, our officers will be testing an integrated dash cam product, and we expect that early in 2016 we will start to deploy the permanent body cameras at the rate of 100 officers a month until all 2,500 officers in our patrol and special units are live. And then within 3 years, we will have a police department where all of our officers and all of our cars that are interacting with the public are recording those interactions in an integrated fashion. We are going through the procurement process now as far as selecting the vendor. The officers are having significant input in that, and we expect in September to be making a recommendation to both the Detroit Police Commission and the Detroit City Council on a vendor and on a direction. I've had a lot of conversations with police commissioners. You're going to hear from the commission chair shortly, but the police commission has been very supportive of the body camera initiative from the beginning, and I expect them, to act on our recommendation relative to the rollout. From the very first conversation I had with him, Chief Craig was enthusiastic about setting a standard nationally for transparency. And the chief has pushed this from beginning to end. He's pushed it in partnership with the unions, in particular Mark Diaz and the Detroit Police Officers Union, and that's allowed it to move more quickly. But this is a police chief who believes in transparency and accountability, and he's going to get that done. And with that, I'll introduce our chief, James Craig.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As the mayor pointed out, I'm extremely excited. When you talk about bringing in new technology, but not just any kind of technology, I'm talking about technology that enhances transparency, that certainly fosters and improves and continues to improve our relationship with the community. It's no secret when you look across this nation, many departments, many cities are grappling with relationship to community. And the reason, because of, in many respects, the absence of transparency. And certainly, this is an opportunity for us to be a national leader in policing when you talk about a fully integrated system. There's no other major city to date that has such a system, and we can be that leader. But all it will do, it will continue to build that relationship. So when I started to reflect back on my time, and one comes to mind in Cincinnati when I was a police chief, we had a tragic shooting of a 16-year-old. Fortunately, there was some video, but it was a video from a building. And so when the media played this tragic situation, certainly it left many to wonder whether or not the police officer executed. It was only by the hope that there was additional video that I acquired, made available to both the media and the family. It was at that point that we were able to have a successful resolve. And it's no secret that Cincinnati was then on the heels of some very tragic events that led to a civil unrest. So when I look at this technology and look at what it can do, it certainly gives us an opportunity to continue to build those relationships, not only, again, to foster goodwill with our public, transparency, but also exonerate officers when accused of alleged misconduct. And lastly, the thing that I really want to stress, and this doesn't happen in most cities, but it's happened here in Detroit. But certainly, I want to applaud the leadership of DPO President Mark Diaz. And why I want to applaud his leadership, because it's not common in other places where the union president and the police chief are working together on a tool such as this that can both bring about enhanced relationships with our community, but also an opportunity to exonerate officers for frivolous complaints. So with that, I'm thankful, I'm excited, and at this point I'm going to turn it over to Assistant Chief White, who will talk in more detail about the deployment.
Thank you, Chief. Good afternoon. As the Chief and the Mayor indicated, this is an exciting time for the Detroit Police Department. We're very excited to be on the forefront of this type of technology. Over the next year, we're going to aggressively go through the process of putting this process into place, starting with, as the mayor indicated, a presentation to the Board of Police Commissioners, as well as a presentation to City Council with regards to which vendor we choose. Then we will proceed to set up the unit that's going to manage the process, because as you can imagine, there's going to be a lot of requests for videos. There's going to be processes that have to be put in place as it relates to policy and procedure. And the policies have already been prepared and adopted by the police department. And then the actual putting the process into motion will consist of our deployment strategy. We will identify 2 precincts, and we will implement the technology at those precincts, as well as the vehicles that are assigned to those precincts. And then at subsequent points, or at various points, once training is concluded at a precinct, we will have another precinct that's in the training process. So simply put, each month we will have 1 precinct that's being deployed and 1 precinct that is in the training process to be deployed. And I will be available to answer questions at the conclusion of the conference, if anybody wants to get more detail. And with that, I will introduce President Mark Diaz.
Well, first off, I'd like to start by saying good afternoon to everyone, and thank you very much for coming out today. I'd especially like to thank Mayor Mike Duggan and Chief Craig and the executive staff and the Board of Police Commissioners from the City of Detroit. On behalf of the police officers of the Detroit Police Officers Association, I'd first like to begin by saying that this program, this project, is something that's actually driven by our police officers. It wasn't a mandate that came down from the top. It was something that our police officers wanted, something we wanted for a very long time. There are many complaints and allegations of police misconduct that we police officers have unfortunately grown accustomed to. And this tool will afford us the opportunity to dispel those allegations immediately, as opposed to having to go through a long, tedious investigation process into the conduct of the police officer. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time beating on the dead horse and talking about the transparency, because I think that speaks for itself, and that it's actually a theme that we really need to grasp onto. Again, as a Detroit police officer of 21 years, I can tell you that our number one goal is the safety of our community, and we want our citizens, we want our business owners, we want those visiting the city of Detroit to feel incredibly safe and confident in the Detroit police officers that are here to protect them. With that being said, I have 2 police officers who have been a part of this pilot program, Officer CJ and Officer Spigner, who were actually a part of this program, officers who volunteered to step forward and be the point persons on this project. So with that said, I'd like to introduce them to you, gentlemen, if you will.
Very interesting pilot program, opened my eyes to a lot of different things. Got to see a lot of different technology, what worked, what didn't work. Like I said, very eye-opening. You don't realize, everybody's out there with the cell phone, so why not tell your own story of what really happened at a scene or a police run? Someone makes an allegation, you can say, well, we have video. This is what truly happened. You're not getting a snippet of somebody putting something on the news, what they wanted to edit, what they wanted you to see. So it's also great that we got input on it. We weren't just handed a piece of technology that says, hey, you guys have to wear this technology. You don't have any input on it. So you got to see, how it worked, how it functions, the buttons on it. So like I said, that's was very, very eye-opening, and I really liked having input.
Come back after the break with more cannabis news, other topics. I think in the long run, when you look at police and body cameras, that it's got to be a good tale, especially if there's some functionality built in that won't let police edit, delete, otherwise find a reason why the body camera wasn't working at the time the incident in question took place. Back in just a moment. Stand by.
You're getting the full melt.
Young students are our future. They're eager to learn, eager to succeed, eager to make the world a better place. And they want to make it to school safely. Share the road. Take care when passing. And always leave 3 feet between you and people on bikes. Bikes are legal road vehicles. We're all drivers.
Imagine a world where patients can use marijuana like any other medicine. The Marijuana Patients Organization challenges the status quo by helping our neighbors to enjoy a better quality of life. Visit the MPO at marijuanapatients.org and enjoy informative articles, engaging debates, and information about treatments, doctors, and dispensaries in your area. Over 50,000 people have registered at marijuanapatients.org since 2010. Join us at the Marijuana Patients Organization today, marijuanapatients.org.
Hey, it's Steve Green for the Sweet Leaf in Flint, because now getting safe access to medical cannabis patients in Flint, Michigan is never more welcoming. Presenting the Sweet Leaf, a brand new patient experience bringing 12 carefully selected caregivers housed in 9 separate offices to distinctly assist you with their knowledge and reputation for excellent patient care. Classes and training coming soon in the large community room. Check it out in person, 400 South Door Highway, or call 810-259-2571. The Sweet Leaf Center in Flint, 810-259-2571.
If you're like us, your pets aren't just animals. They're members of your family. Pet Pain CBD hemp oil drops are great for aging as well as active dogs and cats. Some people are apprehensive about hemp treatments for pets. They ask us, what are you smoking? Absolutely nothing, and neither will your pet. Like other hemp-based products for humans, the allure is all of the benefits of cannabis without any of the high. The CBD oil has shown to rejuvenate the bones, joints, brain, stomach, eyes, and heart. And the drops contain absolutely no corn, wheat, soy, artificial colors and flavors, or preservatives. Pick some up today. Visit petpain.com or ask for Pet Pain at your local pet store. Petpain.com. CBD relief for your pet.
Got something to hide? Canalock offers discreet and effective storage solutions that destroy odor, so nobody knows. Canalock is a patented charcoal-activated bag that discreetly stores your marijuana. Canalock is made from the same material as military chemical warfare suits. Get yours at canalock.com. Visit canalock.com to learn more about no-smell technology.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show. A lot of news to get through here at the end of the program. Cramming it in today. Canadian University offering only medical marijuana legal in the country. A class on the business of marijuana. Students at Kwantlen Polytechnic University can now sign up for a class with high stakes. The school in British Columbia is offering a course called Introduction to Professional Management of Marijuana for Medical Purposes in Canada. The class will take place online over 14 weeks, the CBC reports. So you don't get to sit in front of a professor and yell out marijuana questions? Really? That would be like all the fun in the class. Online. Sheesh. Since the legality of marijuana is being fought in the courts in Canada, currently it's only approved for medicinal use and regulations vary by region, the course will focus on educating students about following the rules of growing legitimate business. Only 25 growing facilities are currently federally licensed in the country. Similar courses have already popped up throughout the United States. The University of Denver Sturm College of Law offered a class on representing the marijuana client. Vanderbilt University School of Law taught marijuana law and policy, and Harvard University even taught tax planning for marijuana dealers. Go figure. Tax planning for marijuana dealers. Labor pains in the fledgling marijuana market, as reported today by NBC News. Where's this at here? I was hoping to get a better. It's at NBCnews.com. Duh. So the labor pains coming out of Phoenix, the developing national marijuana industry still sifting through labor disputes, long since settled in other lines of work. Employees have found that no line of work is quite like marijuana, and not always in a good way. Most bosses must pay their workers in cash, hampered by federal laws that prevent many employers from opening bank accounts. For the vast majority, direct deposit is a pipe dream. Health insurance is a luxury. A matching 401k program, a foreign concept. The marijuana industry is actually being treated worse than prostitution rings and gambling organizations, which is ridiculous, said Kim Hauser, a professor of business law at Washington State University, where she studies the marijuana industry. Still, successful marijuana business ventures can rake in millions of dollars a year. Marijuana workers are usually compensated well by minimum wage standards for unique works that demand a particular skill set. It's not like making widgets, said Raymond Hogler, a professor of management at Colorado State University, where he studies marijuana labor relations. It's not like working on a manufacturing line. Though the demand for jobs in the field is high, Hogler said workers skilled in marijuana are becoming harder to find as the industry expands. With medical marijuana legal in nearly half of the country and recreational marijuana legal in 4 states, cannabis is doing big business in the U.S. to the tune of $2.7 billion with a B in sales last year, up from $1.5 billion in 2013, according to an ArcView Group survey, a cannabis industry investment network. Experts expect billions more in the future growth from markets where the drug is now illegal. ArcView projects a $10.8 billion legal sales market by 2019, provided more states legalize marijuana in 2016. Though the federal government doesn't tack job creation figures, as marijuana is illegal under federal law, analysts said the cannabis industry has created thousands of jobs. Cultivators nurture tiny seedlings into full-grown plants plump with pounds of marijuana. Trimmers armed with scissors prune whole leaves down to usable product. Bud tenders guide customers through pungent selections of strains. A few thousand of those workers have joined the United Food and Commercial Workers International Union, according to Jeff Farrow, a leader of Cannabis Workers Rising, the union's medical marijuana division. But that's a drop in the bucket of UFCW's 1.3 million members nationwide. Farrow said the time for the union to expand in the field is now, while mom-and-pop shops still dominate the industry before bigger players take over, and if and when the federal government legalizes the drug. There is some urgency because if the federal law changes and big money and big tobacco get into this, we'll find ourselves in a race to the bottom again, Farrow said. But some say the industry doesn't need a union to treat its workers well. Because the drug is still illegal under federal law, employers in the field have an incentive to treat their workers right to avoid unwanted attention, said Renee Grossman, owner of High Q, an upscale marijuana dispensary in Silt, Colorado. She called unions a thing of the past, saying that employers must pay competitively or risk losing employees. The boss of High Q starts her hires at $14 an hour, well over Colorado's minimum wage of $8.23. I don't really think unions serve the same function as they did when they first came about, Grossman said. Employers now recognize that they need to have some level of loyalty to their employees. What the union did in the past, the employers are now doing themselves. Unions in the United States have been on the decline for decades as they've fallen out of favor with policymakers and the public, Hogler said, like a union resurgence to likening a union resurgence to turning around the Titanic in the middle of the ocean. I would liken the federal government's change on the stance of marijuana to that Titanic turn. Union members in 2014 made up 11.1% of all U.S. workers, down from 11.3% the year before, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Union workers made up 20% of the workforce in 1983, the first year with the available comparable data. For the union, cannabis represents a chance to safeguard workers' rights in a business that changes each day. Strides so far have been made mostly by local branches. In Minnesota, the UFCW has brokered a labor agreement between a dozen workers and Minneapolis, Minnesota's Medical Solutions, one of only 2 dispensaries open in the state since a law legalizing medical marijuana took effect July 1st. Unlike in other industries, the employers welcomed the union. This is not your typical bad boss, workers rise up thing, said Bernie Hesse, director of special projects at UFCW Local 1189, the Minnesota branch that unionized the workers. He says, quote, "It was more like we know a number of people who can help." The union lobbied the state legislators to legalize medical marijuana in 2014, getting a foot in the door with employers since it has arranged high wages, $18 an hour for the lowest paying janitorial position, and provides health care options to its members. With employee turnover rampant in the industry, what Minnesota Medical Solutions loses in higher wages, it recoups in a steady supply of union-trained replacements who know what they're doing, said Kyle Kingsley, CEO of the company. The son of the union household, Kingsley said, well-paid workers make for happy workers, and that pays off in the long run with employees who work harder and stay honest. He says, folks who are satisfied aren't going to steal from you, Kingsley said. Because regulations vary so much state to state, labor contracts would be very good for the marijuana industry because it would standardize working conditions. In a fledgling industry, I don't see the downside yet, said Hogler. Once they start making a lot of money and once there's a lot of competition and once there's some real threat posed by higher wages, that may happen. Minnesota's not the only city where UFCW locals have gotten involved in marijuana politics. For example, in L.A., Local 770 in 2013 of that union helped rally support for an ordinance that cracked down on illegal dispensaries. The branch has gone on to successfully campaign for labor-friendly members of the city's government. It also entered into labor agreements with several other dispensaries there. Also in Los Angeles, a less established rival to USCW is gaining traction in some circles. Scott Bennett, a Los Angeles resident and paralegal for 25 years, is the force behind United Cannabis Workers. Bennett, then self-described king of the consumers of cannabis, said he's building the only union customized from the ground up for marijuana and its unique set of challenges. He is recruiting a board of directors and working to gain tax-exempt status from the IRS. No luck so far, as it's proven costly. Not a fan of old-school union tactics, Bennett said he would never ask members to create a conflict, he said. I'm trying to resolve issues. I'm trying to connect people. I'm trying to get people where they have benefits to where they're all treated fairly. As more states legalize and the marijuana economy expands, unions will carve out a larger niche, said Hogler, as long as their efforts support cannabis-friendly legislation that benefits business workers. What you're going to see unfolds an unusual relationship between unions and marijuana dispensaries, he said. They're going to try and walk down this road hand in hand because it's good for both of them. As unions are able to get their foot in the door and help out, they're going to be welcome. It's going to set a new kind of tone in industrial relations. That, according to NBC News, as I said earlier. Then there's this Ohio marijuana news thing. It's not going away. I can only briefly tell you about it as the program ends. What I will say is that Cincinnati.com today reported that Ohio is preparing for the marijuana battle in 2015. In this corner, we have pro-pot group Responsible Ohio with about $20 million to spend on advertising, a new bus headed to 88 counties, and polls that say most Ohioans are fine with legalizing at least medicinal pot. In the other corner, we have Ohioans Against Marijuana Monopolies, a group of pediatricians, manufacturers, farmers, and police officers who say legalizing marijuana would put children at risk and create an oligopoly that's bad for Ohio business. Let the battle of the blunt for 2015 begin. Last week, Secretary of State John Husted. What's going on here? Good Lord. Is that not moving now? That's going to drive me insane if it's not. It has to be. I don't get it. It is moving. Houston said that Responsible Ohio had collected enough signatures to qualify for the November 3rd ballot. That means Ohioans will vote on whether they want to create 10 commercial pot farms in the state and allow individuals older than 21 to grow up to 4 flowering plants, which could be shared but not sold. That battle will be ending this fall. The show's ending now. We'll see you tomorrow on The Full Melt.
The Full Melt Show is a production of TFM Media.